Hi, this video is part of Latin for Beginners, a self-study course which uses a traditional method of classical Latin instruction and emphasizes reading skills. The course is based on a public domain textbook, Latin for Beginners by Benjamin L. Duge. The text may be found at gutenberg.org and a link is in the video description. There is also an online practice tool, as well as additional resources and materials for the course at selfstudyclassics.com. I should also mention the Discord server, where you can get help if you need it and connect to a growing community of self-study learners. The link to join is on the Self-Study Classics homepage and in the video description. This video covers Lesson 11 of the text. Videos on Lessons 1 through 10 may be found in the Latin for Beginners YouTube playlist or in the videos section at selfstudyclassics.com. These videos are meant to reinforce the concepts presented in the text with examples, not to replace the text itself, so you'll get the most out of the video by reading over the lesson before watching. Lesson 11 doesn't really introduce any new forms or constructs. It introduces some new vocabulary, but it's mainly a review of first and second declension nouns and adjectives. As we typically do, we'll explore the concepts in the lesson by working on some translation exercises. If you feel confident in your knowledge of first and second declension nouns and adjectives, and you are feeling impatient with the very deliberate pace of the text, feel free to skip ahead. You can always come back to this point if you run into trouble. That's the beauty of self-study. Let's get started. We'll translate into English the question, Estne Marcus Romanus cum Gallia nova legatus? By breaking it down into phrases. The first phrase is Estne Marcus Romanus. Estne is actually the verb est with the enclitic ne on the end. The enclitic turns the whole sentence into a yes or no question. Est is the singular form of the verb to be, and it means is. Marcus is a noun in the nominative singular. It agrees with est, and so appears to be the subject. It is simply the name Marcus. Romanus means Roman, and like the English equivalent, it could be an adjective or a noun. It is masculine and nominative singular, so it agrees with Marcus, but if we try to make it an attributive adjective, we get Roman Marcus, which sounds awkward. Better to make it a noun, and construe this as apposition, to get Marcus the Roman. Altogether, for the phrase we have, is Marcus the Roman. Now for cum Gallia nova. Cum is simply the preposition meaning with. Gallia is a first declension noun in the ablative singular. Since cum takes the ablative, we read Gallia as the object of cum. It means helmet. Nova is an adjective that agrees with Gallia, so it looks like it expresses an attribute of Gallia. Its meaning is new. That gives us with the new helmet for this phrase. Legatus stands on its own here. It is a noun in the nominative singular. We already have a subject, so we read this as a predicate noun that describes the subject. Its meaning is lieutenant. For the whole sentence, we now have, is Marcus the Roman with the new helmet a lieutenant? Which sounds perfectly fine the way it is. Now for our next example. Servus parvus nautae malo, famam praedae motae narat. The first phrase is servus parvus. Servus is a masculine noun in the nominative singular, meaning slave. Parvus is an adjective with the masculine second declension nominative singular ending. Since it agrees with servus, we read it as an attributive adjective. Its meaning is little, so this phrase means the little slave. Our next phrase is nautae malo. Nautae is a first declension noun. The form could be nominative plural, genitive singular, or dative singular, but we will call it dative for reasons that will be clear in a minute. It is from the base nauta, which means sailor. Malo is an adjective with a second declension masculine or neuter form. We might be confused about which word it agrees with until we remember that nauta, despite being a first declension noun, is masculine. So malo is an attributive adjective with nautae. This confirms that nautae is dative singular. Malo is from the base word malus, which means wicked. Now, we usually translate the dative relation as an English prepositional phrase beginning with for or to. It seems that every time we use for, we have to change it to to, because to is probably the more common sense. So let's use to, and say, to the wicked sailor. The next phrase is famam praedai multae. Famam is an accusative singular noun, which is likely to be the direct object of the sentence. Its meaning is rumor. Praedai is a feminine noun with the I ending. We're going to guess at the genitive singular here and adjust later if necessary. The base word of praedai is praeda, which means booty. What meaning would the genitive have here? Well, we could get into classifying this genitive and trying to decide whether it's a genitive of the possessor or genitive of material or whatever. It turns out that it's actually something called the objective genitive. But the classifications hardly matter, since all those relationships map in English to a prepositional phrase beginning with of. So I'm just going to simplify things and call it the of relation. Multae is an adjective, which agrees with praedai and means many in the plural or much in the singular. It expresses an attribute of praedai. So for the entire phrase, we have a rumor of much booty. Finally, we have narat, which stands by itself. It is a verb in the singular, and the base means tells. It agrees with servus, which is its subject, so we can keep the singular form and render it tells. So for the whole sentence, we get, the little slave to the wicked sailor a rumor of much booty tells. Let's put it in English-sounding word order to arrive at, the little slave tells a rumor of much booty to the wicked sailor. Let's try another one. Opidani cum Romanis armis in insula habitant. As our first phrase, we will take the word opidani by itself. It is a noun, and could be nominative plural or genitive singular, but we'll assume the nominative plural for now, and change it later if necessary. The base word opidanus means townsman, so we'll translate the phrase as townsmen. Cum armis Romanis is our next phrase. Cum is the preposition meaning with. Cum takes the ablative case. We find a word in the ablative case in armis. Armis is from the base arma, which exists only in the plural, kind of like the English word pants. The word means weapons and is the object of cum. Romanis is used here as an adjective, and it expresses an attribute of armis, with which it agrees. That gives us with Roman weapons for the phrase. Next we have in insula. In is the Latin preposition meaning in or on. It can take the accusative or the ablative, depending on whether it is used to express location or direction. Here it is used to express location, as we see it followed by an ablative. Insula is a first declension noun meaning island. It is the object of the preposition in. Together, these words give us on the island. And at the end, we have habitant. This is a verb. The base word means dwells. And here we have the plural form in order to agree with the plural subject, opidani. So that gives us dwell. Putting all these phrases together, we have townsmen with Roman weapons on the island dwell. Cleaning up the word order gives us townsmen with Roman weapons dwell on the island. Our last exercise will be an English to Latin translation. The harsh master calls his slave to the walls. The first phrase is the harsh master. Master is the subject of this sentence. The Latin base word for master is dominus. We will keep it in the nominative singular. Harsh is an adjective, expressing an attribute of master. The Latin base meaning harsh is durus, and we will keep it in the nominative singular to agree with dominus. That gives us dominus durus for the phrase. The next phrase is the word calls by itself. This is a verb, and the corresponding Latin base word is vocat. It needs to agree with its subject, dominus, so we have to keep it in the singular form and end up with vocat. The next phrase is his slave. As the text repeatedly reminds us, Latin does not use the possessive pronouns or possessive adjectives when they may be inferred from the context, so we are not going to translate his. Slave is a noun, and the Latin base word meaning slave is servus. Slave is the direct object in our English sentence, so we need the accusative case here. So we end up with servum as the translation for this phrase. Finally, we have to the walls. To is used in a physical and directional sense here, so we use the preposition ad instead of the dative relation. Walls is a plural noun. The Latin base meaning wall is murus. We need to put it in the plural number and then into the accusative case because it is the object of a prepositional phrase beginning with ad. So we end up with ad muros. Altogether, we have Dominus durus vocat servum ad muros. Let's put it in Latin's subject-object-verb default word order to arrive at Dominus durus ad muros servum vocat. Great. That's about it for our examples for Lesson 11. As always, the best way to achieve mastery of these concepts is to work a lot of exercises, and you can find plenty over at selfstudyclassics.com. Head to the practice section and choose Lesson 11. Once you feel confident about the Lesson 11 material, keep an eye out for the video on Lesson 12 of Latin for Beginners. Thanks for watching.